This is One on One. There's Jessie Mueller. She is an actor in Beautiful, the Carole King Musical, playing at the Stephen Sondheim Theater at 124 West 43rd Street. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing great. What is it like to play the great Carole King?
It's a thrill and an honor and intimidating every night, but in a good way. Because, it's a great thing because people love her so much. And so we feel like we have a wonderful responsibility that we take on every night in the way that we tell the story and the care with which we tell it. So.
And the period that we're talking about here, we're talking about leads up to the Tapestry album, which came out in 1958 to 1971. And the Beautiful, the name of the play, is named after the song.
Yes, that was on the album Tapestry that she wrote. Yeah, it sort of covers her life we see her first when she's about 16 years old, sort of writing all these songs and finally selling her first song until just about when Tapestry comes out and she has her Carnegie Hall concert.
Can we take a look at you?
Sure.
Yeah, doing Carole King?
Sure, let's do it.
Yeah, let's take a look.
I'd like to know that your love is love I can be sure of. So tell me now, and I won't have to guess. Will you still love me tomorrow?
People forget about how that happened, right?
Yeah.
Set that up. What did we just say?
Well, I think, so we just saw a little clip of Will You Love Me Tomorrow? And in the beginning of the clip, you saw Carole King and her writing partner and husband at the time, Jerry Goffin, basically pitching the song to Donnie Kirshner, who was a music publisher at 1650 Broadway, not too far down the street.
Exactly.
And then you saw the song sort of transition into the Shirelles performing the number, who recorded it, and it became Carole and Jerry's first #1 hit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, for those who may not appreciate or understand what Carole King's music really is all about and how much it's meant to us, some of the extraordinary songs, just on the Tapestry album
on
itself.
Tapestry, Too Late, So Far Away, Home is on there, Beautiful, Natural Woman. I mean, the list just kind of goes on. And there were a lot of newer songs for Tapestry, and then there were some songs that had been previously recorded, like Will You Love Me Tomorrow and Natural Woman, who, of course, Aretha Franklin recorded, and it was a brilliant recording. And then you get to listen to Carole's version on Tapestry, and it's a completely different experience. They're both wonderful and both very different.
When you met Carole King, describe it.
I sort of remember it very vividly, and also it's sort of a blur. But I remember she surprised us when we came back to New York. We had been out of town with the show in San Francisco doing a run out there. And we came back to rehearsal. I think we were down at Chelsea Studios. And I see Jared Spector walking down the street, who plays Barry Mann in the show. And I was all excited to give him a big hug. I hadn't seen everybody in a week. And I come into the studio, and there's Sherry Condor, Carole's manager, and also her daughter, with one of her daughters with Jerry Goffin. And then I saw Carole's hair. And I saw the hair, and I knew it was her. And I was like, okay, this is happening. And we came up in the elevators, and the elevators opened, and I saw her, and our eyes just sort of met. I think she let me give her a big hug. And then I don't really remember what happened after that. It was just looking into the eyes of someone that I had been admiring and studying for so long. It was a very cool moment.
Had she already heard you sing?
I don't know if she had at that point. Well, yes, I believe she did, because I believe they taped my audition, and she had casting approval, so she had to watch the audition. Sherry, her manager, was there at the audition, I believe. So Carole must have heard a tape at the audition, but...
You have an extraordinary voice.
Oh,
I know you hear that all the time, I'm sure. Has Carole King said anything to you about your voice in connection to hers?
No, not directly. It's funny because I've actually listened to Carole speak about her voice so much in doing the research, and there are some brilliant interviews out there, because she never thought of herself as a singer.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Yeah, and to me, she's the best kind of singer, because it's not about the sound she's producing, it's why she's producing it and how she's producing it. And the how is because she's feeling it. So that's what I try to do every night. But it's fun because I look at this show very differently vocally than I have other roles I've done in the past, or possibly, you know, roles I'll do in the future.
You told our producers, and you've said other times, that this is like a marathon. It's physically, emotionally, on every level demanding.
It
Why?
is, and it's funny because I have to tell because sometimes I have a hard time accepting that, because I'm not running around and I'm not dancing like, you know, the rest of some of the people in the show are dancing and doing the sort of obvious physical things. But it's funny just doing the sort of range of emotions that the piece covers. There's some very, very joyful stuff, and there's some very intense, painful stuff too. As an actor, I think, I was just talking to a friend about this, your mind knows the difference between really experiencing something and acting it, but your body doesn't necessarily. So your body takes on the toll of that emotional pain or that joy or whatever. So it's a lot to put my body through every night, but at the end of the night, it's worth it when you see someone at the stage door and they tell you how touched they were, or you hear the audience response at the end. So
You also play the piano. Mm-hmm. When did you start playing the piano?
well, gosh, thank my parents. They had me studying when I was like first or second grade, and I didn't stick with it very long. I really wish I had. I went back into piano lessons for this part.
Is that right?
Yeah, because I knew I'll never play as well as Carole does. It's just not going to happen. I hadn't put in the time. I mean, she was playing classical music when she was like tiny. I mean, she started when she was 4 or 5. She's she's an amazing musician, but I went back, and I'm getting help also from Jason Howland, our music director and conductor, who's doubling some of the stuff I'm playing. But hopefully that the result is a very authentic representation, because that was really important for me. I wanted to go back into piano lessons because that's so much of how she sings, is because of what she's playing and how she's playing. So,
What is it, from your perspective, about Carole King's music that touches so many people in such a meaningful fashion?
I think it has to do with her honesty and her authenticity. To me, I haven't had the pleasure of watching her live, only, taped live performances. But even just when I listen to her, there seems to be nothing between herself and an audience. It's just the music. She's like a channel for the music. And I think that's very rare in a lot of performers, because I guess there's a part of you that has to want to get out there and be in front of people. But I get a feeling from her that she sees that as a great gift and as a great blessing to be able to put her music out there. And I think that's what people get when they listen to her. They feel how personal it is to her, and then they feel from that.
You love doing this.
I do.
We're happy for you.
Thank you.
And wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We encourage people to go see Beautiful. It is at the Stephen Sondheim Theater at 124 West 43rd Street, and Jessie Mueller is performing as Carole King. And we thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this. Thank you very much.
One on One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System. This special edition of One on One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Virtua, NJIT, New Jersey Natural Gas, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, TD Bank, and by the New Jersey Education Association. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.